When a person disappears from your outer life, you assume their inner life has disappeared as well. You assume that because you cannot see them, they cannot see you. You assume that because the messages stopped, the thinking stopped. This is the great misreading of human consciousness. The outer behavior of a person is not the same as their inner activity. The two are connected, but they do not always move in step. A person may be silent on the outside and full of you on the inside. A person may be far in distance and close in mind. A person may be entirely absent in form and entirely present in consciousness, and the form and the consciousness can remain unaligned for a long time before they finally meet. This is what is happening with them. Hear that again. This is what is happening with them. Not what may be happening. Not what might be happening if you are lucky. What is happening right now in the unseen layer that runs underneath their day? You have crossed their mind today, probably more than once, probably in moments they did not let themselves linger in. Perhaps when they woke this morning, in that strange minute between sleep and full waking, when the surface mind has not yet assembled its defenses. Perhaps mid-afternoon when they were doing something ordinary and your name surfaced from nowhere and they pushed it down and continued their task. Perhaps tonight just before sleep when the day's noise quiets and the unguarded part of consciousness rises. They have thought of you, they are thinking of you. The thinking is not always loud, it is often a low hum they have learned to ignore. But it is there, and it has been there, and it will continue to be there. The silence is not absence of thought. The silence is the visible expression of a person who is thinking about you and not knowing what to do with the thinking. That is something very different from forgetting. Forgetting is light. Forgetting is genuinely empty. Forgetting carries no weight on either side. What you are receiving from them is not the lightness of forgetting. It is the weight of suppression. They have been holding something down, and the holding requires energy, and the energy is what you have been sensing on your end as a low presence that you cannot account for. You feel them because they are exerting effort to not feel you, and that effort radiates. A person who has truly moved past you does not need to maintain silence. They simply move. A person who is silent in a heavy way is a person whose inner life is still oriented toward you, even as their outer behavior insists otherwise. The orientation has not closed. The orientation is the connection. The connection is what was made when consciousness met consciousness, and consciousness does not unmake what it made simply because the surface mind decides it should. This is the part that almost no one has explained to you correctly. You have been told that you must move on. You have been told that their silence is evidence of finality. You have been told that hope in your situation is delusion. None of this is the law. The law is something else, and the law is that two states which have known each other do not separate by the simple decision of one party to stop messaging. The states remain entangled at a level beneath the messaging. The entanglement is what you feel. The entanglement is real. The entanglement is what is producing the very signs you have been receiving and dismissing as your imagination. Let me name some of them, so you can recognize them. You have woken at strange hours with the sense that they were near. You have explained this to yourself as a residue of dreams, or as your own longing returning to torment you. It is neither. The unguarded hours, between 2 and 4 in the morning, are the hours when the surface mind loosens its hold, and the deeper layer becomes available. You wake in those hours because something is happening in the deeper layer. They have surfaced into your awareness because they have surfaced into their own, on their end, in their own bed, often without realizing what they are doing. Two people thinking of each other at the same time, even across distance, even across silence, are not having a coincidence. They are having a contact. You have felt waves of unexplained emotion, a sudden grief in the middle of a workday, a sudden tenderness while doing nothing in particular, a sudden flash of an old memory so vivid that you almost looked over your shoulder to see if they were behind you. These are not your nervous system being unstable. These are the moments when their consciousness reached toward you, and you received the reach, and the reach landed in your body as a wave you could not explain. You have noticed small repetitions in the outer world. A song they once mentioned playing in a store you do not usually visit. A name you associate with them appearing in a context that has nothing to do with them. A turn of phrase theirs coming out of a stranger's mouth. These are not coincidences. The outer world rearranges itself in small ways around what is alive in consciousness. When their consciousness is full of you and yours is full of them, the outer world begins to leak signs of the inner activity. You are seeing the leaks. The leaks are evidence. But there is something else worth knowing, because it matters more than the signs themselves. The signs are not the goal. The signs are the trail. The goal is the recognition that the connection is intact, and that the intactness is what makes everything else possible. If the connection were truly broken, you would not be having these experiences. The signs are appearing because there is still something there to send them. The wave you feel is the wave they are sending, even when they do not know they are sending it. The pull you feel toward them after all this time, after all the reasons you have told yourself to stop pulling, is mutual. You are not pulling alone. The strange persistence of the feeling in you, despite the silence, is the proof that the feeling is being met from the other side, in some form, even if that form is suppressed, denied, or unrecognized by them. You are not loving into a void. The void is the story the surface mind tells. The deeper truth is that something on the other side is receiving every assumption you hold, every state you dwell in, every quiet inner statement of having. The receiving is not always conscious on their side. It does not need to be. Consciousness operates beneath consciousness. The impressions you make in your own state are pressed into the connection itself, and the connection carries them across to them, regardless of whether they are paying attention. This is what you have been doing, whether you realized it or not. Every night you have spent imagining them. Every quiet moment of holding them in mind has already returned. Every time you have softened into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Every walk in which you talk to them inwardly as if they were beside you. These have not been wasted. These have not been the desperate acts of a person making things up. These have been the actual work. The work has been depositing itself into the connection, and the connection has been delivering it. Their silence, far from being evidence against your work, is partly the result of it. A person who is being worked on at the level of consciousness often becomes quieter on the outside before they move. The inner reorganization requires energy, and the energy is taken from the surface. They have less to say, less to do, less drive to maintain the patterns they had before. They may appear flat. They may withdraw not only from you, but from others. They may seem to have gone into a kind of stillness that has no clear cause. The stillness has a cause. The cause is the work being done underneath. The reorganization of their state requires a temporary suspension of the old activity. The silence you have been mourning is partly the silence of a self that is in the middle of becoming someone capable of returning. They cannot return as the person they were. The person they were is the one who left. Some part of them, some deeper part, has known this. The deeper part has been quietly working to become the person who can return. While that work is occurring, the surface remains still. It would be a mistake to interrupt the stillness. The stillness is not rejection. The stillness is becoming. Persist while they are becoming. This is the entire instruction in this period. Persist. Remain in the assumption. Do not let the visible silence pull you out of the inner having. The inner having is the field in which their becoming is occurring. Your having is the soil. Their reorganization is the plant. If you abandon the having, the soil dries and the plant slows. If you remain in the having, the soil stays warm and the plant proceeds. This is why your faithfulness matters so much. It is not that the universe is grading your devotion. It is that the field requires you to hold it open while the work is done. You are not begging, you are not pleading, you are simply maintaining the conditions in which the becoming can complete itself. Most people abandon this maintenance 2 weeks before the completion. They look at the silence on day 40 and decide nothing is happening, when day 45 was the day everything would have moved. The completion does not occur because the field was withdrawn. The field requires you. The field is yours to hold. Hold it. I want to address the nights because I know what the nights have been. The nights are when the silence speaks loudest. The phone is dark, the day's distractions have fallen away. You are alone with the absence of them, and the absence enlarges itself, and your mind, exhausted from the day, no longer has the strength to fight the spiraling thoughts. You reread old messages, you look at old photographs, you replay the last conversation, the last fight, the last unanswered question. You go over the whole history, looking for the precise place where it went wrong, as if locating the wrong moment could undo it. Stop doing this. I do not mean stop thinking of them. I mean stop re-entering the old states. The old states are the very states that produce the situation you are now in. To return to them at night is to plant before sleep the very assumptions you do not want growing. Whatever state you fall asleep in is the state that takes root through the night and shapes the consciousness from which tomorrow grows. To fall asleep in lack is to plant lack. To fall asleep in the wish fulfilled is to plant the fulfillment. When the nights come and the spiraling begins, gently turn your attention toward a different scene. Sit with them in your imagination, as if the matter were already settled, as if the silence had ended, as if the return had occurred. Do not visualize the moment of return. That places it in the future. Instead, sit in the after, in the casual, ordinary time after the return, when the contact is normal again, when the warmth between you is a settled fact, when there is no longer anything to wait for because the waiting is over. Inhabit that. Even for 2 minutes, especially as you drift toward sleep. Let the last thing your consciousness touches before unconsciousness be the having, not the longing. The state you carry into sleep is the state that does the deepest impression on the connection. You can do more work in 5 minutes before sleep than you can do in 5 hours of daytime striving. The night is your most fertile time. Use it. And in the morning, do not reach for the phone first. The phone has trained you to begin each day with the question of whether they have moved. You wake, you check, you feel the small fall when there is nothing. The fall sets the state for the rest of your day. The state then produces the day's events, which include their continued silence, which then confirms the state, which deepens the loop. Break the loop by not checking. Sit, even for a minute, in the state of having. Let the day begin from there. The phone will still be there in 15 minutes. The information has not changed. But your state set first will carry a different signal into the connection, and the connection will receive a different impression, and the impression will accumulate. Now, about something you have been ashamed to ask. You have been wondering whether you're imagining them, whether your inner conversations with them, whether your continued holding of them in mind is somehow a violation. Whether you are crossing a line by working with consciousness in this way when they have not consented. You worry in your most private moments that you might be doing something wrong. You are not. Consciousness is the field in which all relationships occur. To work in consciousness is not to manipulate. It is to participate honestly in the only place where relationships are ever truly worked on. The person who works only in the outer world through messages and meetings and external persuasion is working on the slowest and most superficial layer. The person who works in consciousness is working on the layer where the change actually happens. You are not forcing them. You are not coercing them. You are simply taking responsibility for the only side of the connection you have any authority over, which is your own state. By tending your own state, you tend the field. By tending the field, you allow the connection to do what it does. They retain their freedom. You retain yours. The work proceeds in a layer that does not violate either of you. So do not be ashamed of your imagining. Continue. The imagining is the work. I want to say something about the way you have been holding the question of time. You have been treating this period of silence as if every passing week were proof of further loss. You have been counting days. You have been measuring the distance between now and the last contact and feeling the distance widen with each calendar page. You have been adding the days the way someone adds up evidence in a trial. Stop counting. Time is not the enemy you have been told it is. In matters of consciousness, time is sometimes the friend. The longer the silence has gone on, in some cases, the more deeply the inward work has had to occur on their side. A short silence might mean a brief disturbance. A long silence sometimes means a deeper reorganization, which, when it completes, produces a more substantial return than a brief silence would have produced. You are not losing time. Time is doing something. Let it do. This does not mean you should be passive. It means you should be patient. There is a difference. Passive is collapsing. Patient is remaining with intention, with state, with quiet certainty, while the unseen completes itself. You are to be patient. You are to remain. You are to dwell in the having while the time does its work. Now, a few signs that the silence is approaching its end. You may begin to feel a strange increase in their presence in the days before the visible move. The dreams intensify, the waves of feeling come more often. The unexplained certainty that they are thinking of you arrives without your having to summon it. You feel them in some moments, almost in the room. Things around you remind you of them with unusual density. The signs cluster. When this clustering occurs, do not grasp at it. Do not check the phone every few minutes. Do not try to provoke the contact by reaching first. The clustering is the indication that the bridge is nearing completion. Your reaching at this stage can disturb the final span of construction. Remain steady. Continue to hold the state. Continue to dwell. The contact will arrive in its own moment, and the moment will surprise you precisely because you had begun finally to release the grip on its timing. Often, the contact arrives when you have momentarily forgotten to expect it. You are doing something ordinary. You are not thinking about them with urgency. You are perhaps thinking about them with the quiet having of someone for whom the matter is settled. And then the message arrives, or the encounter occurs, or the call comes, and the visible has caught up with the inner state you have been holding for weeks. This is the pattern, repeatedly, across thousands of cases. The visible arrives when the inner state has stabilized. The visible cannot arrive before. It would have nothing to land in. The inner state is the landing strip. You have been building the landing strip. You may already have built most of it. The plane is approaching. So when the silence speaks to you tonight, hear it correctly. It is not saying that they have forgotten you. It is saying that they are thinking of you in a way they do not yet know how to express. It is saying that their inner work is in process. It is saying that the connection remains, beneath the visible, fully intact. It is saying that what you have been doing in consciousness has been received. It is saying that the bridge of incidents is being constructed. It is saying that the becoming is occurring. The silence is not your enemy. The silence is the chamber. Inside the chamber, two states are being slowly rearranged so that the meeting, when it occurs, can occur in a form that holds. The form is being prepared. The preparation is the silence. The silence is sacred in this sense. It is the place where the unseen work is permitted to complete. Trust it. Remain in your state. Persist in the assumption. Dwell in the wish fulfilled. Let the dreams visit you. Let the waves move through you. Let the signs cluster. Let the certainty rise. Let the urgency soften. Let the having settle into the ordinariness of someone for whom the matter is already done. They are thinking of you. They are thinking of you tonight. They are thinking of you when they wake. They are thinking of you when they are quiet. They are thinking of you in the moments they do not let themselves notice. The thinking has not stopped. The thinking has only gone underground for a season, where it is doing the slow work that thinking does, when it is preparing to become something more than thought. The silence means they are thinking about you. The silence has been saying that all along. You can hear it now. Continue.